Today we're joined by legendary boxing promoter, owner of Queensbury Promotions and manager to the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, is Mr. Frank Warren. Hi Frank, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, it's a privilege to be on your show.
How did it all start and why did you choose boxing to promote?
Well, I've always been a massive sports fan. I grew up in Islington. I was an Arsenal fan. I've always been into boxing. My family, a couple of my family did box, and my dad and my uncles all boxed in the army. And I had a relation, second cousin called Lenny McLean, who was in the film. I don't know if you see Lock, Stock and Smoking Barrels. He was dedicated in that film, and he started. He got involved in fighting and asked me if I'd look after him, and I wound up promoting. It's all by accident. It wasn't by design.
And so you've promoted lots of superstars over the years, past or present. Who's been your favourite to promote and why?
Different reasons, they're all different characters. I really enjoyed promoting Naz at a certain stage of his career. It was promotable. He got it. He understood what we were trying to do. So that was good. It was a good time. Fighters who probably maybe should be better known, but weren't as well known, like Dennis Andrews, who was a true warrior, lovely fella. Enzo McInerney, again, lovely fella. Then I promoted Frank Bruno. He won his world title with me. Ricky Hatton. They've all been great journeys. Joe Kawasaki. Yeah. So I had some fun. Amir Khan won his world title with me, and obviously Tyson at the moment. It's a real pleasure and enjoyment.
What is a typical week running Queensbury Promotions for you?
I wake up get up. I'm an early riser, so I get up very early in the morning, and then I go and take my anodins because I know straight away it's going to be headaches all week. So that's what it's like. But it's a very unique business because you're dealing with people on a daily basis. All the people, the boxers, the people around them, their managers, trainers, they're all got different personalities and so forth. So you're basically trying to put things together. People get injured. You're trying to find replacements for fights. You're dealing with guys from street level all the way up to top executives in TV companies. So it's you're working in different environments and different areas of I suppose of social life, but nothing's the same. Nothing is the same. It's always something different. That's probably why I'm still so enthused about it, so excited about it. But I do enjoy being involved, certainly in the early stages of fighters' careers, helping to build them and helping them achieve their dreams, and if they're very successful, securing their finances and their family's finances for life. So that part of it is quite enjoyable, but it is challenging at times. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
And where do you get time to sleep? Because as our day finishes, somewhere in the world, you stay a morning and you've got to deal with like Americans and stuff like that. So
sleep is for dreamers. Yeah. I'm working all the time, so we're on the phone, because of different time zones, talking to America and so forth. But yeah, I do get to sleep, but not as much as I'd like to get.
And is it scary handling millions and millions of pounds and relying on other people to say, the money's in this place, then you've got to pass it on to someone else?
Listen, I grew up in a Priory Green estate, or just off Pentonville Road in Islington, in a council flat. For me, handing millions and millions of pounds is a privilege. Yeah. Better than what I was doing when I was growing up, that's for sure.
The way the world's going at the moment with media and subscription TV and streaming and stuff, do you feel like you helped pioneer that with Box Nation? And do you feel like Box Nation was a bit too early? Because it's sort of the same model as what's happening nowadays, like with your DAZN, your Disney and Netflix and all that stuff.
I think the streaming will take more time before it actually becomes mainstream. But everything changes over the years. When I got into boxing, there was no live TV. Boxing used to take place. The big shows were run what they called by the cartel in those days. Mickey Duff, Jarvis and Stair and his crew, and they would put their shows on the Royal Albert Hall on the Tuesday night, and Wednesday nights there was BBC television. You used to have a program called Sports Night, and they would show the highlights of the fights the next night and show on grandstand another sports program on BBC on Saturday, showed the delayed rights. When I got involved, I got involved with ITV. I got them to do the live boxing on a regular basis. So that was a change. If you wanted to watch a fight from the States live, you had to go to a cinema 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and pay 25 quid back in those days to watch it. It was a lot of money. And then I got involved with a pay-per-view and with Sky when I went to Sky, which were the first subscription channel. Sky at that time only had 3 million subscribers. I took all my stable from ITV to there. Everybody said it won't work, but we made it work. Ricky Hatton became the first boxer to go through that system and become a world champion, and probably the most popular boxer out of all of them at that stage. Since then, as you say, we've got involved with Box Nation, Satanta. I was involved with their boxing and brought that on, and now I'm at BT now, and we've moving forward that. I think at the moment the subscription or terrestrial TV is the best place for boxing, but I think the streaming in maybe in years to come it will happen. But what you've got to look at is the most popular sport in the country, which is football. And football doesn't do streaming yet.
No.
And they're better placed than we are to determine whether that's going to be a success yet. So the fact that I'm sure they're doing some matches, but their main income comes from subscription TV.
Because that's what I was going to ask. Because if you take away the pay-per-view revenue, and have to put on pay-per-view caliber shows every week to keep up with people's subscription, do you think that would take away the feel of a big night? Because I remember being a child and stuff and staying up late with my parents. It was a big night when it was a big heavyweight fight or a big world title fight. Do you think with a flat fee, it's just going to platter out, and every night it's going to sort of be the same? So it's not going to have that big night feel anymore.
Well, the problem you got with terrestrial, like ITV, BBC are out of it. But you're talking about ITV. As far as big fights are concerned, they just can't match the money now that's generated by subscription TV, and and subscription TV can't generate the money that's generated by a pay-per-view. Yeah. Pay-per-view is the most honest form of TV. It tells you the true value of a fighter, his true worth, because the people are either going to buy it or they're not.
And they're talking about the way the world's heading. So there's been lots of YouTuber attractions. What do you personally feel about that environment, and how good do you think it is for the boxing sport itself to bring them eyes?
Well, I'm a little bit of a purist because, boxing, look, somebody wants to go and fight and they go to a gym and they train and they're medically fit to fight. That's their choice. And the YouTubers got, Jake Paul's instance, they become well known through whatever their endeavours are on streaming or YouTube. Good luck to them. If they want it, and if people want to watch them fight, that's up to them. It's in a democracy, that's what you should be allowed to do. However, I do not confuse them with boxers at the top elite level of their game. I appreciate all their endeavour. Good luck to them. As long as they're medically fit to box, good luck to them.
And do you think the eyes being brought to the sport is healthy for the sport? From outside influences?
Do you know what? It depends what people's expectations level are. If they sort of watch, maybe watching one of the YouTubers, and then on that card there's a really good fighter, and suddenly they think, well, hang on a minute, this boxing looks all right. They've not been boxing fans. That's great for our sport. But I think they're totally different fans. But if we can if we can win some of those over to watch professional boxing at its best, then brilliant. That's great.
So what is Tyson like to manage, and what is he like as a person? Because you see both sides of Tyson.
Well, I'll promote him. He's a very nice guy. What you see is what you get. He's family man. He's also had a lot of problems in his life. I mean, they're well documented. So I'm not telling stories out of school. He had a drink problem. He was dabbling in drugs. He got so to the depths of despair that he was contemplating committing suicide, which is probably about as low as anybody could get. But he sort of got himself back together, and I think he's been an inspiration for mental health, especially in the times that we're in. He's been honest about it, and he's basically said if it happened to me, it can happen to anybody. And I think he's been great from that perspective. And the boxing's has been a great channel for a great the sport has channeled all his energies and given him something to aim for. So boxing has been good for him, and he's been good for boxing.
A lot of boxers, when you hear them in interviews and stuff, says if it weren't for boxing, they could probably end up in prison or in a worse situation. Why do you think boxing's such a good sport for young people to take up? Because in one way, we're trying to tell young people not to be violent, but in another way, it's a very disciplined sport. And
well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Look, some kids are born to be painters, some are born to be interviewers, some are born to be actors, some are born to fight, some are born to play football. And it's a God-given talent. And that God-given talent that, I think it's horrible to, a lot of people, we all, it's been said over the years, if it weren't with boxing, I'd be in prison. I think that's sometimes a bit demeaning towards boxing, like to say it's only criminals who are involved. I think what it is guys who, and there's been some really good citizens from boxing over the years who've done extremely well for themselves and for the country. But when I sort of look at where most boxers come from, it's mostly inner city areas, deprived areas. It's an easy sport as such to take up because, where I was born in Islington, and part of it was pretty deprived when I was a kid. And certainly there's a lot of places, parts of it still are. There's no golf courses or too many tennis clubs in Islington and most inner city areas. So kids are not lucky enough to get that experience. So for a kid to go, for a youngster to go along, a boy or a girl this day and age, to go along to a boxing club, to be able to interact with people from different ethnic backgrounds, different beliefs, to in an age where we've got an obesity problem, where they learn, if they are training, they're learning about nutrition. They're obviously doing exercise. And I think the most important thing is the respect that they have amongst each other. And even more importantly than that, is the discipline. They are boxing, but it's done under rules. And it is a discipline. A bell rings, they stop fighting. I mean, I can't even lost count of the amount of fights over the years where two guys before the fight maybe trash talking each other. They have a real hard fought contest. It's a war, and at the end of it, they're hugging each other.
Yeah.
How many sports do that?
No, exactly. No, that's well said. I totally agree with you. Final question: what advice would you give to young or anyone really wanting to run a business?
I think you've got to follow your gut feelings. That your instincts are what you should go with. I mean, always have seek professional advice. Make sure you're having a good accountant on board. You have good lawyers if you're at that level, but go with your instincts, because that normally tells you whether you're doing the right or the wrong thing. And you can't afford to be slack. If you're getting involved in a business, you've got to live the life, and you've got, like a boxer, you've got to live the life. You've got to be disciplined, and you've got to really focus on what you're doing and take nothing for granted. Because at the end of the day, it's the old story, hard work. That hard work pays off.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, Frank, thanks for your time today. It's been lovely speaking to you, and hopefully you'll be able to join us again sometime in the future.
Anytime, it's a pleasure.